Without the business, there is no company here to support you. That means we need to make sure we are on a win-win situation. And with this in mind, sometimes we need to understand where their requirements come from. Why do they need to make sure to push the project so urgent? Is it because of capturing the market, capturing the user, because of the first wave of the market you want to capture? We need to understand, and we are trying to help them. So we are not presenting as a blocker of the company. We are an enabler of a business, in my sense.
I think slowly but steadily we are kind of observing a shift in this domain, which is kind of male dominated, where women often take the back seat. But thank you so much for throwing light on that aspect.
I think it's good to be a balance of it. It is not only a male-dominated industry, it's generally the women take more leadership role, and then if we are fine balance in the industry.
Hi, you're watching The Mainstream. I am Simran Shiwalkar, your host for today. Well, we are back with the new episode from one of our exclusive series called Wonder Woman in Tech. Today, I'm particularly thrilled to have a visionary Wonder Woman with me, introducing Ms. Silvia Lam Ihensekhien. Firstly, Silvia, thank you so much for joining us on this series.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. The pleasure is totally mine. That being said, I will take this opportunity to share a few things about Sylvia. To begin with, she is a powerhouse in cybersecurity and a true champion for women in tech. As the Director for Information Security and Risk Management at Swire Coca-Cola, Sylvia blends deep technical expertise with sharp business strategy. Her career spans over a decade across continents, leading high-impact projects from cloud migrations to GDPR compliance, all the while shaping resilient security cultures in fast-changing industries. She has been recognized globally for the World CIO 200, Asian CSO 30, and Asian Top 50 Women in Tech. But what truly sets Sylvia apart is her ability to lead with purpose, whether mentoring the next generation, forging partnerships with emerging startups, or driving enterprise security forward. She is truly a trailblazer who brings both heart and strategy to the table. Well, Sylvia, I am truly excited to know more about your journey, your vision for the up and coming technology and the next generation of women in tech. I am excited to lead this conversation. So, starting with your journey, Sylvia, you have led massive security transformations under tight timelines. I want to understand from you what drives you to make bold decisions, and how have you been leading this space so far? If you could give us a glimpse of this journey.
Yeah, I believe when you believe your vision or your direction is right, you need to drive that. Of course, a lot of things you need to consider. One of the things is about the company, whether the decision, how much risk is it, do you fit to the risk appetite of the company, and then you believe it is the right thing to do, then you need to stand up and say, hey, this is the right direction or right decision I believe in, and then to drive it. But when you drive it, you always from the top. First, you need to get the executive management understand why it is important. Of course, in the business term, you cannot just say, hey, because we can defend our company for how many vulnerabilities. They won't understand it. You need to say, hey, we will mitigate the risk, or what is the impact of the business if they don't do it. So from this level, you have their buy-in. And then later, it is not done yet. You need to have your peer even understand why they need to support your decision or support your project by explaining to them why it is important. And even down to the operation level, without the operation level, your project won't be able to succeed. So that is why you need to make sure this is the right direction, and you believe it is right. Get the executive buy-in, get the peers understand why it is needed, and get the user to understand why they need to do it.
Sylvia, thank you so much for sharing this with us today. And it's truly inspirational to hear that from a leader. Taking cues from that, reflecting on your journey, I am aware that from cloud migration to compliance, your work blends risk as well as innovation. How do you strike the right balance when we talk about security and speed, especially in today's fast evolving era?
Actually, it is a very difficult question to answer. In terms of the right balance with security and speed, a lot of people think security is just like slowing down the progress of a project. Actually, it is the other way around. If you done early at once, the thing you need to do after the project is live, it is less. That means that when you identify the security loopholes right in the beginning, the start of the project, the cost you fix this is much less than the cost you fix it after it go live. So we need to understand this kind of methodology, and then we need to make sure the security awareness, the culture is enabled in the company. But always, of course, the right balance between security and the speed, it is always lying back to my first point on the risk. How much risk you need to accept, you willing to take. That is a kind of calculation risk. So if I want a security implementation to do it between 2 months, and then the project team want to do it in 1 month, we need to understand each other's. And then we need to say, hey, if we do it 1 month, can we do that? Or what is the security exposure that you have? Do you understand what the risk you're exposure to? If they understand, and then if we agree and calculate, is still a calculated risk that we can manage, then we will go ahead. I know sounds like complicated, but this is what we need to do and understand each other. A lot of security team, I would say that sometimes they are so technical focused, so they don't understand what the project or the business requirement. But nowadays, security is to enable business. We need to understand the business requirement because we drive the business together. Without the business, there is no company here to support you. That means we need to make sure we are on a win-win situation. And with this in mind, sometimes we need to understand where their requirements come from. Why do they need to make sure to push the project so urgent? Is it because of capturing the market, capturing the user, because of the first wave of the market you want to capture? We need to understand, and we are trying to help them. So we are not presenting as a broker of the company. We are an enabler of a business, in my sense.
Rightly said. So, I mean, today for a leader, whether it's in technology or in cybersecurity as well, the role and responsibilities have become quite diverse. We also see an aspect of being a business enablers for a lot of leaders in technology today. So, again, taking cues from that, you have been a mentor, a leader, along with being a voice for diversity. What moment in your journey made you realize the power of representation in tech, which is one of the critical, most spoken aspects today when we talk about tech and women in leadership roles?
Wow, I think it's back to my previous job, which I have been working for 15 years, almost 15 years, in an e-commerce platform for maritime industry. So if you understand the maritime industry, it is mostly, well, male dominated. The industry, it is the shipping, right? And then you work in the shipping, you work in the IT. It is always, I will say that 99% are gentlemen sitting in there. And then as part of the provider at that point, I need to discuss a lot with my customers. Therefore, my peers are the IT manager of those potential or existing customers, which is are always gentlemen. And whenever you go for a meeting, that is, for example, 10 people sitting here, I'm always the single lady sitting there. And then that make me wonder why is so few ladies out there? Is it because of ability or because of something is not right? Because we are striking a balance, trying to do a gender balance here, but it is not happening mostly in the IT industry. And even on the cybersecurity is more niche as well. So that is something that when I starting there when I just give me an idea. Why? So that's why I start my mentorship journey. I really hope I can be the role model as much as I can to demonstrate, hey, even a lady can do good, do well in the IT, in the cybersecurity business. It is not a guy dominated subject or industry. Women can bring their value here in this perspective, and that's how it is.
Sylvia, thank you so much for bringing some insights from your personal experience and drawing some parallels from your journey as well. I think slowly but steadily, we are kind of observing a shift in this domain, which is kind of male dominated, where women often take the back seat. But thank you so much for throwing light on that aspect.
I think it's good to be a balance of it. It is not only a male dominated industry, it's generally the women take more leadership role, and then if we have fine balance in
Correct.
the industry.
Well, I'm sure we all can agree with that 100%. And again, moving on, Sylvia, security is also fast evolving and unprecedented rate today. From your perspective, what has been one of the biggest shift in mindset or a skill set that today's tech professionals or tech leaders must embrace in order to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, I think when I just look back several years ago, right, when I take up the security role, head of security, at that time we are focused on defending the perimeters to avoid the attackers to get in. Hey, I have this technical control, I have that control, I have administrative control, just to prevent the attacker get in. But as you say, now the emerging technology is coming more and more mature, and then they've given it is more scalable. And then you can see that those like attacker without any experience can easily launch attack because they can use ransomware as a service. And then for the company, you only need to have one loophole, and then the attacker can get in. It's as easy as that. And then if your company is so many different digital product, digital assets, we call that a lot of attack surface. That means you open a lot, maybe a lot of doors, getting the attackers to get in. So the mindset have to change as a professional. Previously, as I say, we are on the defensive mode, right? We keep defending. But now I will say that what our mindset should change. We should have assume the beach approach. What means by that? Which means no matter how hard we secure our perimeter, if an attacker want to get in, they definitely can get in to our perimeter. But what we can do is secure our data. What I mean is important data, critical data. Even they get in, they cannot get it. And that is why the mindset need to be changed from what I kick them out previously, kick the attacker out. Now, of course, we try to do that, but seems like it is impossible because so many technologies, so much things happening, and then it's so quick. That's why we need to ensure our data, critical data, important data is protected.
Rightly said. So, I also have another question for you. Looking back, what advice would you give out to your younger self when you were just kind of starting out, women leading the world of technology or cybersecurity?
Well, I believe, right, on the cybersecurity, a lot of cert, right? For example, ISC2 for the CISSP, and then the other depends on which role you want to go for. Because cybersecurity is a broad range. You can do cybersecurity risk, which you can have a risk certificate, right? And then you can be, well, right hat, what we call defending. You have the ethical hacker certification you can use. And then, of course, if you want to proceed as the CISO, then as I say, CISSP or CISM, it is good. And also nowadays, they come up with a lot of new roles, new certificate like AI and others. But what I found, right, depends on all these technical certification. One qualification I believe is quite important for myself as well. It is project management, PMP. Although you say that, hey, PMP is not a cybersecurity, but everything, it is a project. We start with a project, especially when PMP says 80% of the project is what? Communication, which is really, really true. A lot of them, what I learned from the PMP, part of it is stakeholder management, which I am doing a lot of it now. And then you might say, hey, I'm just a security analyst. I don't need stakeholder management. No, of course you need, because you need to show your result, demonstrate your result, convince your result to the others. It is the others are the stakeholder. What you present, even your boss, your line manager, or your peers, is are the stakeholders. And then from that, from the project management, you identify what are the critical path, what are the must you need to achieve, and then you drive it to the deadline within budget, within schedule, within resource constraint. And then this is a part, I think it is a foundatory if you want to be a good in cybersecurity or as well as other position as well, the PMP.
Sylvia, I will take a moment to thank you for dropping that truth bomb and also leaving us with some critical recommendations today. And before we wrap up, I also have another question for you. Looking back, what advice would you give out to your younger self when you were just kind of starting out in this domain, or for the next generation of women leading the world of technology or cybersecurity?
Well, I would say that what advice I would give to my younger self, I would say that, well, when I was, well, just graduate from university, I was quite shy. You can't believe, right? I was like, I completely quite outspoken this day, but you need times. So a lot of women think themselves, right, overthinking. Sometimes when I want to say something, when I want to express my idea, am I saying it right? What will be others thinking? This is a kind of imposter syndrome, which I also have the doubts in my mind as well. But first, you need to have confidence in yourself. And then you need to think every question. There is no dumb questions. Whatever it is, you are asking a question you want to understand, you want to show interest, rather than speaking at nothing. Of course, if only have you have a question to ask and speak out your mind. Of course, this is some of the skill set you need to find the right timing, right? The right audience to speak your mind. You just like cannot say, hey, I bust out, this is my idea. No, but you need to be confident to speak out your mind whenever it is necessary. And people have an impression thinking that women are quite impulsive or emotional. What I'm doing, you always need to have data to back you up. Hey, for example, I say this is a good idea. Why? Because I have the statistic of this constitute how much percent of it. So if you have the data, then people will understand you because you have the data, not because, oh, I feel that it is important. That is nothing as you feel. Because you feel you using your personal emotion to attack with it. At work, we don't. We use fact. You use data to convey a message.
I think it goes without saying, we all can collectively take a lot of inspiration from that. I think you need to have that confidence, like you said, and we need to lead with purpose as women, whether you're in the domain of technology or otherwise. But thank you so much for sharing this wonderful piece of advice with all of us today and your insights as well. While we wrap up, Sylvia, I most certainly look forward to connecting with you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.